Oh, and who cares if you're 19 or 79? I've got an age-related story. When I filed bankruptcy back in 2010, one of the items on my bucket list was to be a police officer. Let's see if that's on the next slide. Yep, there it is. One of the items on my bucket list was to be a police officer, and I always wanted to be a cop. In Washington State, where we were living at the time, and maybe all states are like this now, there was no upper age limit to be a cop. If you could pass a fitness test, you had to be considered for hire. So at 52 years old, I applied with 12 different departments, taking no chances, and I passed the fitness test 4 times. The last time, my favorite, it's push-ups, sit-ups, a certain amount of time. There's a sprint, some other odds and ends. The hard thing for me was 1.5 miles in 14.5 minutes. I am not a runner. I hit 40. I'd been running until I was 40, and I thought to myself, you know what? I'm 40. I'm never going to run again. Because I play basketball. I love playing basketball. I play basketball. I could be exhausted from playing basketball. And if I happen to be the 10th person on the court, the one that makes it 5-on-5, I will play another half dozen games near death just because I love the game. And I realized I would never run 5 miles, come home and think to myself, I think I'll do 5 more. So I quit running. So running is not my thing. Anyway, the last lap of the last test I took, I'm just running, walking, breathing hard, running, walking. A young woman comes up behind me. We tested several times before together. We, made friends because even though we're competing for the same jobs. She comes up right next to me as I'm running, walking. She says this, and this motivates me to this day. She said, Frank, are you going to let a chick beat you, you big puss? And took off running. So I took off after her, and I beat her by about 1.5 feet. And then when I caught my breath, I went over and thanked her, because I don't think I would have made it in the amount of time required. I said, listen, thanks for the motivation. She goes, I knew you weren't going to make it, but I also knew if I called you a big puss, you would drop dead on the track before you let me beat you. So I passed the fitness test 4 times. The psych screening. Anybody ever applied to work in law enforcement? Oh, dear God. The worst was the Washington Department of Natural Resources, I think it is, the people that handle the parks and things in Washington. They have a 1,500 question psych test. You know what they do is they ask the same question over and over different ways. Have you ever thought about being a hairdresser? Were you big in theater in high school? I mean, why don't I just have one question? Are you gay? That's really what they're after. So, question number 783 was something like, have you ever considered suicide? It was all I could do not to write on the paper, yes. About question 560, I wanted to open a vein. Oral boards. Had up the dozen departments, I think I did 4 oral boards. That's where you have 3 or 4 police officers, recruiting officers, and they ask you questions, And they would say, what's the connection between comedy and police work? Well, the connection is we're both paid observers. I do observational comedy. So I said to them, I see and hear things. And they said, you see and hear things? Not like that.